In this video, I walk you through the process that I follow to identify the type of training sessions that work for me and my goals and show you how I built my weekly plan. This is the third part of the Cycling After 50 series. After reading and analyzing the information on Friel's Fast After 50 book as well as Training and Racing with a Power Meter by Allen, Coggan and McGregor, as shown in part 2 of this series, I decided to do a lot of testing to find out what works for me. I started this new training phase in early July 2024 because I wanted to improve my overall cycling performance including the fitness score in the Intervals.icu fitness chart, my FTP, and keep improving my VO2 max as reported by Garmin Connect, that, though it was at a very good level, Friel clearly states it is one of the most important fitness parameters to improve after 50 years old. My first goal was to train at least 5 days a week, and during a 4-week period I would test different types of training workouts. Some of them were indoors in order to find and confirm what intensity and durations were needed for my FTP to improve. I did sessions in zones 4 and 5 as well as the so-called sweet spot. I also did a lot of outdoor rides including what I called fartlek sessions consisting of high-intensity segments in my training loop by riding in zone 4 or higher on climbs, as well as series of high-intensity sprints in flattish sections. Other sessions were targeted to be done in zones 2 and 3 to increase my endurance and to ride longer distances at faster speeds. To analyze all the information I was gathering with my Garmin Edge 1040, power meter and heart rate monitor, I used the Intervals.icu fitness chart to track my fitness and form to assess long-term performance as well as the activities view to look at each session individually. Besides checking each ride data in the activities view, I created a table in the list view that lets me see how several factors interact with each other in order to identify the impact they have in increasing my fitness at the same time that fatigue is in control. In Garmin Connect, I give a close look at my VO2 max performance that uses the Firstbeat Analytics heart rate-based algorithm. Let's see the results starting with my VO2 max that was 41 and now it is 45 as seen in Garmin Connect. Looking at the fitness chart, on July 1st I started with a fitness score of 22 and today it is at 45, an improvement of 23 points in just over 4 weeks. The dots on the fitness chart show planned workouts and there were 2 of them that resulted in an increase of my estimated FTP shown by the red dots in the base of the chart. Both times it was the same workout that had 3 intervals of 3 minutes each at power zone 5 with a rest between intervals of 1 minute. I created another planned workout to test zone 4 and sweet spot training to increase FTP which I did on August 1st but was surprised that there was no new estimated FTP, as I expected. By looking at the form chart, I have been able to stay in the green zone for the most part so that the improvement was gradual without risking fatigue. There were a couple of times in which, on purpose, I increased the workout's load to get into the red zone and see what was my body reaction to the fatigue created. Overall, the results in the fitness chart are very positive, but Intervals.icu has another tool that allows to go even deeper. This is the list view of the activities calendar. In it you can see a table with columns of the parameters you would like to track closely and that can be selected from a large list of options. The parameters I selected allow me to see the effect that the load, intensity and duration have in my fitness, form and fatigue levels but also link them to how I felt after each training session. Besides looking at the cold numbers shown in the fitness chart, it is also very important to identify aspects that software-generated numbers cannot measure and that is what the feel and RPE fields have provided. The Garmin Edge 1040 I use has the option to enter these ratings at the end of an activity, making them very valuable as they really reflect how you feel in that moment. The way I look at this chart is to see whether the session resulted in an increase of the fitness score. If so, I take note of the load, intensity and duration values and compare them to other similar ones looking for patterns. I also see the feel and RPE scores to find out if there was an effect of the previous day training and in several occasions, they gave very interesting information. In days where I felt weak or very weak, I looked at the data of the previous sessions to check for the pattern that caused the feeling of weakness, which I try to avoid by all means. Another very important element I track is the session heart rate average. It may provide different pieces of information. In my case, I found a pattern when I felt weak during a session. The heart rate average was on the lower side indicating that my body was fatigued and I was not able to increase it. In other sessions, especially at the end of the test period, and as my VO2 max improves, I am getting higher power output values as shown by the normalized power metric but at lower heart rate averages, which mean an efficiency improvement. Other interesting field is the gear used to see whether they affect results. Each bike has its associated power meter added as a component, so eventually I will try to find out differences among the two of them. I added the estimated FTP field to measure what type of training sessions improve it, as I know that will also impact my 8-minute field test calculated FTP value, that is, Theon I enter in both Intervals.icu and my Garmin, so that the data calculations between the two always match. As a result of all these tests, I was able to build what I consider to be my optimized training week schedule. It is made of 5 days a week with one optional recovery ride day depending on how I feel both physically and mentally. So this is what I came up with. Mondays is a rest day. Tuesdays are high-intensity training days for FTP improvement, in which the target time at the design training zone takes priority over load. It is an indoor session with 3 intervals of 3 minutes each at Zone 5 with a 1-minute recovery between them. These were the ones that resulted in increased estimated FTP during my tests, one of my major goals. It will be followed by 2 intervals of 4 minutes at Zone 4 with a 4-minute recovery between them. The rest of the session is in Zone 2. The load should be around 62 points with an intensity about 80%. All steps include cadence as a secondary target that will help improve my pedaling smoothness at higher intensities. The number of intervals and their durations on both zones will be adjusted as the training progresses. Wednesdays are endurance rides and design 2 different options, one outdoors and the other indoors. For the outdoors sessions, I decided to use power as the reference instead of the heart rate range that Friel recommends. The reason is that the limits are so close to each other that it is almost impossible to stay within them in my hilly training loop. For the outdoor sessions the target is Power Zone 2, the intensity shall be between 56 and 75% and load of 80 points at the end of the ride. For indoors, the training session is heart rate based using the limits obtained from Friel's formula that in my case are from 126 to 130 beats per minute and a duration, a phone hour to get the benefit. Estimated heart rate based load is 49% with an intensity of 70%. Intervals.icu does not have an option to enter direct heart rate values, so I use percentage of lactate threshold heart rate to set the limits. If you want to learn how to create planned workouts in Intervals.icu that can be uploaded to several devices including Garmin and Wahoo, check our video tutorial Advanced Cycling Planned Workouts in Intervals.icu. Available through Gumroad. The link is in the description. Thursdays are for fartlek sessions made outdoors and, as described above, consisting of high-intensity segments in my training loop by riding in Zone 4 or higher during climbs as well as series of sprints in flattish sections. Load should be over 100 points and intensity above 85%, that is the equivalent to a tempo, Zone 3 ride. Fridays are either rest day or a light Zone 1 recovery ride. Saturdays are fartlek as Thursdays but no higher than Zone 5. Sundays are for a long ride with intensity above 75%, load at least 120 points and a starting distance of 40 km and increasing by 5 km each week. Except for the indoors FTP session, the intensities and loads assigned to each day are based on the feedback I got from the list view data analysis that will yield the improvements in fitness. In upcoming videos, I will show you how to build the training plan and do a follow-up to the results. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to continue learning about these topics. Thank you for visiting.